Kia ora, and welcome to Constellations and All That. I'm your host, Tracy Cartwright, and together we will be exploring the world of family constellations with facilitators and clients from around the world, looking at different perspectives and experiences in the work, having a cup of tea and just chatting with some friends around their experiences in constellations. We'd love for you to join us. I hope that you enjoy this series as much as I have loved making it. Kia ora, everyone. Welcome to Constellations and All That. Today, I'm so excited. It's long awaited. I've been really looking forward to this conversation with Robi Moore. Welcome, Robi.
Thank you, Tracy. I've been looking forward to our chat too. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, and
Finally
those who
here.
can see me can see I've put up a special background just for Robi. And
I didn't realize that was just for me. Thank you.
it was just for you. Absolutely. The first time it's been presented.
Lovely.
Would you like to share a little bit about yourself, who you are and what you are up to?
Sure, absolutely. We came to meet each other through Constellations. I was co-facilitating a training, and we met each other there. I'm a family constellations practitioner, a psychotherapist, and I specialize in a version of psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy. And I train mental health professionals on how to think about psychedelic experiences from a morphic field lens, and how constellations and psychedelic assisted psychotherapy are very much touching the same field.
Fascinating.
I think so. So the
Wow.
mushroom is very appropriate today.
Yeah, I thought so. Might not be the right mushroom, but it was the one I found.
Well, you have to be very careful which one you eat, apparently.
Apparently, yes, my husband always says all mushrooms are edible. They're not all survivable, but they are all edible.
That's very true.
Okay. Tell me, how did you get into constellations? What was your first introduction into this
My
work?
a friend of mine went to a Constellations Day many years ago. It would be 2006, I think. And she said, I was there all day and I just kept thinking of you. I think you should do this. And so I explored it, and it was very much in my field of interest. And
Mm,
so I did some training back in 2009, I think, originally, and that was where things started for me. And I started bringing it into my therapy work and found it was very useful in the one-on-one space. And when did further training, and at some point started running groups or workshops, and just found it really lovely to to witness what's possible when we acknowledge and attune to the history that's alive now.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So who was your original trainer?
Originally, I trained with Maria.
Oh, wow. Yep.
Yes. And I meandered around a few places, but I ended up going back and redoing Maria's training a handful of years later, just to come at the same material from a different place in myself. And
Mm,
it was really useful to do that.
it was, yeah. Like I had been working in the field for so many years myself, and that was when I had actually think I met you in Sydney before that, briefly, like in a
That's
big
right. We
event.
did back in 2016 Constellation Intensive.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and then again at Maria's last year, and it was really fascinating just to go back, hey, as a you're already
Mm.
working in the field, but just to see it from a different perspective.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
if Maria's taught me so much, and all of my trainers in that space or teachers in that space, and we're all teachers in that space, have taught me an awful lot. But what Maria taught me that she still lives by, which I find is amazing in her 80s, is to always stay the student. And the
Yes.
humility of that allows us to always keep learning. And so,
Mm,
I guess that's what you were doing last year.
yeah.
Mm. I'll be doing that this year. Later on this year, I'm planning on coming over to your side of the pond in the November weekend.
Oh, fantastic. That'll be
Yes.
very cool. Very
Mm.
cool. Going in through Wellington.
Yes.
Great. I'll look forward to that. How do you describe your work to people?
I try not to. When I start constellations workshops, and people often roll their eyes at this, or at least people that are trained in the space. But it's just maybe it's me being cheeky, but I typically say, who here hasn't done constellations work? And there'll be a handful of people that put their hands up. And I simply say, oh, okay, well, welcome. And you'll get the hang of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that really any description is not going to do justice to anyone's direct experience. And so typically I only work with, not only, but typically I work with people that have been referred to me. So I don't really have to share anything about what I do. We both get an experience of each other as we walk down the path together.
Yeah. Beautiful. Tell me a little bit more about the psychedelic side of that. How does that process actually work? Because people are going to go, oh, do we all go to a workshop and have some psychedelics and have a constellation? How does this work?
Right. Well, there's many ways to answer that, but no, I certainly don't bring, and not that I bring psychedelics in my work anyway, but I certainly don't sit there and everyone, kind of has a big dose of mushrooms. The constellations work gets done in the preparation, so for their psychedelic journey, whatever that
Mm,
is. So
okay.
I'm really I guess, a facilitator of somebody's calling when someone gets the sense that they want to work with ayahuasca or with psilocybin or whatever the medicine is. I wrap psychotherapy around their journey. So I help them prepare and integrate that experience. And the constellation work gets done prior to the psychedelic day itself. And so in psychedelic assisted psychotherapy, there's a lot of talk around set and setting, getting the set right and the setting right, and preparing people in the most appropriate way so that they can have a safe journey. And in
Mm,
my experience, the most important preparation and resourcing of an individual, if they're going to go down that path, is to restore the orders of love so that they can rest in the strength of what's in them in the process of facing what's coming.
fantastic. Yeah, because it's the resources to lean into so that if there's fear or panic or
That's right. They're held and moved back into, the arms of their elders.
yeah.
And what I've found is that so many people that have not done that process, this is going back some time now, who have not prepared with constellations, often have these nebulous, kind of confusing psychedelic journeys where, for instance, they're holding this incredible anxiety that doesn't make any sense to them. And the whole journey was just this confusing anxiousness. And,
Mm,
and then when we unpack what happened, of course, the mother was profoundly anxious, and the journey goer's upbringing was holding mum's anxiety. And so by doing the constellations before the psychedelic experiences, it allows in consistently in almost all cases space and room for the person to face what's theirs rather than to face what they're holding that's not theirs.
yeah, because you've
And
got all this other stuff coming in, and rather than
yes,
being able to have this experience, you've got all this other stuff going, look at me, just check this
exactly.
out.
Yes, but there's not necessarily a sense of, this is what I'm holding that's mum's. It's just here it is, and it's very powerful and it doesn't make sense. And so the two seem to go hand in hand very well.
That's fantastic. How does the association feel about you doing psychedelic assisted therapy now? Like,
Well, my work is to prepare clients and help them integrate for their experiences. It's an important question, I think, because the dilemma that's been created is in the media and within the clinical trials is that the clinical trials are showing incredible results. And so the
mm,
media is saying, wow, look at this. This is amazing. People are really healing this condition, that condition, and all sorts of other things. And so it's now become very very public in terms of the efficacy of these medicines,
Mm.
but so few people are allowed to work with them,
Yeah.
and it's under incredible cost constraints, and so it creates an environment where people want to go and use these medicines to heal, and they bring about amazing results. And so I attend to that part of the market, people that are saying, well, I'm not waiting for 25 years for for me to be able to attend to what I'm suffering with now. I'm taking these medicines and it's happening, and I would like a psychotherapist who can help me prepare and integrate those processes. And so that's really where I operate.
So in Australia, is psilocybin legal?
If it's prescribed by
Oh, yeah.
a qualified, trained, registered psychiatrist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the conditions currently are treatment-resistant depression for psilocybin, and it's also certain criteria around PTSD.
Right. Yeah.
But anything that falls outside of that is not, it's not covered. Therefore, it can't be prescribed. Therefore, if it happens, it's not sanctioned. But of course, this
Okay.
is what people are doing. People are understanding that mushrooms literally grow in forests, and it's impossible to police this, and that they've been ingested for millennia
Mm.
with incredible results, and so they're finding their own way. But the risk is that without adequate preparation and integration, it's just an
Yeah.
experience, or at worst, it's a damaging experience.
Yes, myself and mushrooms in my youth was quite a
Uh-huh.
damaging experience.
Oh, really? Do you care to
But at
share?
the same time, it was good because it put me off them.
What happened? If you
I
care to
probably took
share.
far too many,
Yeah.
and really in those days I was just focused on getting as disconnected from reality as I possibly could.
And that would have brought you squarely into contact with reality.
Oh, I don't know about that. I
Okay,
don't.
right.
I may have consumed some other things at the times too, but
Yes,
I
I can relate.
yeah, I do remember having like seeing the bench moving and
Mm.
um, a child walking with showing me a pair of scissors. I was in the company of a child, not mine. I wasn't babysitting. There was a child in the space, and it just brought up stuff for me. Like so, all the stuff arose, right? And I didn't know how
Yes.
to deal with it, so it just became
Yeah.
this for me a nightmare at the time. Um,
Yes. I
yeah.
think that's the definition of a bad trip. It's where, in a different environment where you were attended to, that would have been a useful trip. But because you
Oh,
were completely
absolutely.
upheld, it was a very difficult experience by the sounds of it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. I was just trying to forget everything, not think about it at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And so part of my work is to kind of intercept those sorts of places and help people face what needs to be faced before the day, rather than kind of
Mm,
leaving them to face what happens on the day and not know what's going on, which
yeah.
happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that we have a doctor here in New Zealand that has a license for LSD to assist people with palliative care,
Yes, okay.
and which feels like such a beautiful offering
Yeah,
for before, crossing the veil,
yeah.
being able to have that experience and let go of those things that are creating the anxiety and the fear and yeah.
Yeah. Yes, from what I understand, most of that anxiety and fear is the fear of death itself, and the
Mm,
experience tends to give them an experience of something beyond what we call this life, and that seems to be very soothing.
mm, yeah. I
Mm.
had had a conversation with my mum about it, and she was quite. And mum never did any drugs or anything, but she was considering it, yeah, for the experience. But it didn't get to that point. But
Right.
because I happen to know that, had contacts and with this
Yeah.
doctor and that. So, um, but anyway, it fascinated me. I think it
Yes.
would be, yeah, it's
Well,
a
it's
great
been,
resource.
it is fascinating, and it's been around, it meaning these medicines have been around for millennia. And it's only really the injury imposed by the so-called war on drugs that was actually more an agenda around the America's situation with Mexico. Um, that all of these explorations have really been shut down.
Can you explain that a bit more?
Yeah, so Ronald Reagan brought forward the war on drugs, and part of what they did is they sensationalized people smoking marijuana. They were showing photos of people on, I think it was heroin, and if you smoke marijuana, then this is what you look like. And so there was a lot of misinformation
Mm,
around um, drugs. But there was a political agenda, which we don't have to go into here, that was the impetus behind that campaign. But it really did land, and it was very effective. And Margaret Thatcher, in tandem, also initiated that war on drugs. And so people have a very inaccurate view on what a drug is versus what a medicine is.
yes, right. Yeah.
Mm.
And there's the misuse of the medicine as well too, isn't there?
Yes,
Mm.
well, a medicine can become a drug,
Yeah, yeah.
like the definition of a drug in terms of what we're speaking of is that someone takes it to get a response, and that response moves them further away from their pain, but they have to keep taking the drug to stay away from their pain, but they have to keep taking more and more of the drug because it becomes, more accustomed within their system. That's typically our definition of drugs moving into addiction. Whereas a medicine
Yes.
is often the opposite. We take the medicine to engage with and face what we haven't been facing. And we may take that medicine several times. And quite often, we need even less medicine because we become more attuned and more sensitive to what's happening.
I like that definition. That's great.
Yeah. And when I say medicines, I'm speaking of plant medicines. So
Yeah.
ayahuascas, the Amazon kind of master plants, and mushrooms, peyote, wachuma, the cactus medicines, those sorts of things.
I've found now that I'm so sensitive. I've been in an environment where bufo, you've heard of bufo,
I
which is
have. I hear that's a very potent and ancient medicine.
yeah, and I was invited to partake, and but my body was very much a no, but I also got a but I need to be there.
Okay.
So I went to the circle, and and I didn't partake in the medicine itself, but I could feel it. So there was one person in particular who came who had um in her earlier days had had quite a few seizures, and she hadn't for a very long time, and she wanted to experience the medicine, and she was sort of on the edge, and that when she realized that I was there, she felt comfortable to do it,
Uh-huh.
which was totally her choice, right? And so I sat with her, and I felt the experience as much as she did, and I didn't even consume it, but it was the
Yes.
energy that was in that space.
That's right. So what you're speaking of, I would suggest is the crossover between psychedelics and constellations, the direct engagement with the morphic field.
It was a fascinating experience, and in a deepening of me knowing of understanding myself, I guess, in that way. Like constellation work in itself helped me to understand the things that I'd always, I'd experience stuff, and I'd be like, why do I experience this? Why do I feel very different as soon as I step into this space? Or, the sensitivities and the morphic field, absolutely. So, yeah, that
Mm.
was a real highlight. And that wasn't that many years ago, but it was just like, wow, so I don't even need to take it to have that experience. Beautiful.
It is amazing, isn't it? Well,
Hmm.
it reminds me recently I ran a workshop where we constellated rather than families, we constellated the plant kingdom, so all these different medicines.
Oh,
So it
wow.
was a group of 30 people that all had experience, many of them significant experience, indigenous traditions, taking different medicines. And we constellated things like ayahuasca, iboga, a whole range of Amazonian medicines. And it was profound. People kind of ended the day saying, I can't believe that. It was as if I was on the medicine itself.
So when you say constellated, it was what was the intention to constel, or was it more of to experience it?
Well, the intention was individual based on what people were working with through their journey. So
Oh,
the
right.
intention was let's prepare and integrate, whichever it is or both. What people's experience is. And so there was a lot of people there that have done what's called a vegetalista dieta, which is an Amazonian grueling process of 10 to 30 days of fasting,
Yep.
where they eat once a day or once every couple of days.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
they ingest ayahuasca many times, but they also diet what's called a master plant. The master plant is one of the wisdom trees or plants from the Amazon, with the intention that, or to put it in our constellation terms, that the dieter will attune to the morphic resonance of that plant, and they
Right.
come out with great healing and great insight and new wisdoms in themselves. And so there was a lot of people that had done many of those dietas, and so we constellated these trees, and it was incredible how powerful that was for people and how alive
Yeah.
these experiences became.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. A
Mm.
little out of just thinking the power of it being in the field. So after that experience, oh many
The
quite a
Bufo
few years
experience.
my yeah, the Bufo experience,
Mhm.
and I was in a workshop, and I just happened to say, oh, it feels like the psilocybin energy is here, you know?
Mm.
And a number of us went and had the most amazing constellation. Like it
Mm.
just flowed into a different
Yeah.
space or a more expansive space even. It was just something different about that constellation. So yeah.
Uh-huh. Yes,
Mm.
sounds like you skillfully kind of attuned to something that was useful for the room.
Well, it was great, yeah. And because it was a constellation in nature as well, so it was
Mm.
really, really quite profound. Um,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Lovely.
Wow, amazing. Have you got
Mm.
any people have examples of the work, things that obviously without crossing any
Mm.
confidentiality or anything like that, but anything that you can share that may have shifted or you've witnessed or experienced in the field through
Mm.
this work?
The constellation work?
Yeah, and maybe with psychedelics or without, whatever is there for you to share.
Yeah, right. Well, I think, yeah, there's what to say on that. There's probably a lot to say on that without revealing anything that doesn't need to be revealed. I think that the firstly, the similarities, part of the similarities, if we start with constellations as the metaphor for psychedelics, is that in constellations, we all come with stuff that hasn't either been faced or we know is there and is unfaceable. And so
Mm,
through being held through many, there becomes a field of support and coherence large enough to have the person turn towards and face and digest, if not in themselves, in the collective, which is still digesting, so that what's not faceable is faceable. And so in many ways, that's what the psychedelic medicines do. They allow people an inner resource rather than needing a collection of constellators to be able to turn towards the thing that they didn't even know they were running from. And so I've seen things, quite simply, I've seen people smoking for many, many, many years after one journey, just not have to quit. It's just goes to the side. Same with
Yeah.
drinking. Certainly long held traumatic events that seem unchangeable and unbearable in lots of
Yeah.
instances just often melt away, but not through the act of just swallowing psychedelics, through careful and attuned preparation in helping a person know what it is they need to orient towards and face.
Well, that's right, because you're being intentional, aren't you? You're being present and intentional around what it is that you're going to look at something rather than just, I'll just pop this and see what happens.
That's right, because that's a little bit like, just people play musical chairs and suddenly there's a dozen people standing in front of us and we don't know, well, what's going on here? I don't know, you know. But
Mm.
similar to constellations, the power of constellation is in the witnessing and seeing of what is. And the skill of a constellator is in being able to kind of, um, attune to that constellation so that the client can see what is. And that's very much the same with psychedelic medicines. It's
Mm.
kind of preparing people to face what is inevitably what they're going to face.
And I think a lot of people may have the conception that you get really you're on this big trip, whereas it's is it true? This is my understanding, and that it's what's the word? So like the smaller doses and then building up. Is that the right how
That
we?
can sometimes be the way to go. It depends on what people, on where
Okay.
they're at and what they understand and what's safe. But I think that the misconception is that people have to take a heroic dose for anything to happen. Often it's in the subtleties that deep change can happen. People talk about taking a big dose and getting ego death, but actually for someone with a developmental trauma where they haven't got a sense of self, to have such a big dose where the ego disappears is kind of, well, it's kind of what they live with every day. So a
Yeah.
lower dose that amplifies sensation and allows them to suddenly feel what's in them rather than only live external to themselves is super powerful and much more healing and um, less injuring or less risk of injuring than a big hero's dose.
Mm. Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. Absolutely. Are
Yeah.
there other medicines that are maybe more accessible for people? Like I use cacao.
Yes. I've had your cacao. It's delightful.
It's lovely, eh?
It's very
And it's
yummy.
such a great, for me, has been such a great resource for the PTSD and just being able to be intentional, being present, and
I
there are
never knew that about cacao, but it makes sense because there's a deep presence and there's a heartness to cacao.
yeah. Well, it's very heart aware, heart activating, and it lowers your blood pressure too. So, things, your whole body, you become much more present. High in magnesium and zinc and selenium and all sorts of different things. So it's supporting your body. It's been the thing that has kept me from. In fact, I was afraid to take it at the beginning because someone said to me, "Oh, cacao's great. You get really high on it." And I was like, "Oh, done that. Been there, done that in my
Mm.
my colourful journey of life. Don't think I'll go
Mhm.
there." And then I had a journey with some health issues, and I thought, oh, I think I'll give cacao a go, see if I can get what's underneath it, like get some insight. And my body just went, oh, this is what you've been waiting for, and just relaxed. And I was like, oh, there's, yeah, so much in that feeling, and
Yes.
yeah,
That's a beautiful description of the movement of all these medicines is a coming down and an exhale into oneself, into one's body,
yeah,
into a
yeah,
state of being able to let go of tension and be
yeah,
in the body they're in.
exactly.
And so yes, I think there are so many medicines that can do that. Um, and you don't need rocket fuel doses to achieve that. But the medicines that I personally have worked with is many Amazon medicines. This is not, in clinic. This is in me. Ayahuasca, psilocybin. Did I mention iboga? Iboga was my first one. Wachuma, so, and they all have given in in their teachings a sense of deepening into the visceral reality of my truth rather than the cognitive kind of turning of
Mm.
what's happening in the world.
And when we think about our ancestors and how they would have used the
Mm.
plants and the medicines and the listening to the wisdom of them, hey?
That's right. And that's what's really been taken away in this more industrialized, commercialized, Americanized, to use that word, kind of world. It's kind of more, information to take charge of and be in power and take control
Mm.
over. And it's so up here and out there. Whereas what's been lost is the listening within.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we're desensitized to it, aren't we? And there's
Yes.
so much we can go into with that, but
Yes,
um
there's a big history in that. Mm.
yeah, let's desensitize everyone so they're not aware of their own selves.
Yes.
Try to take them as
Well,
far away
it's
from
much
them.
easier to kind of regulate a society if everyone's ironically dysregulated.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. Totally agree. Now you've been in the constellation realm for quite some time. What changes have you noticed over the years in the evolution of the work? Is there anything that stands out for you?
I think that I don't know, you might think this as well. I think it looks fairly self-evident to me. And that is that people are learning that you can use this technology and point it anywhere. Doesn't have to be pointed at family
Mm,
systems for it
mm,
to work. People are using it with ancient Chinese wisdoms. I'm using it with, Amazonian plant medicine, constellations. People are using it in the corporate space. It's what I've noticed is that once people learn the technology, that is, you put people down and you template that particular morphic field, you have access to the field, well, that can get pointed anywhere. And I think that's
yeah,
what people are, I'm seeing people just constellate all sorts of novel and unusual things that are amazing.
yeah,
And yeah, I think I'm seeing that just happen everywhere.
yeah. I love that. I do too. I see that everywhere.
Yes, there's always, it's like, oh, I never thought about constellating that. What a good idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I use it. I do a bit of art with it as well. So
How do you
sometimes
do
in my
that?
workshops or week retreats, I'll add an art practice in. Um, yeah, and it's quite profound. So we're taking you through a constellation process, but creating art. I did one around the
Mm.
inner child, and over the weekend, um, we all did a painting around our inner child and constellated, and it was just fascinating and
Mm.
so powerful what came up. Yeah.
Lovely.
And then resources is a big thing for me as well. So bringing in a lot of helping people to find their resources. What are some of the things that are there
Yeah.
for them? Yeah.
Yes, it's so important that, isn't it? Because that's in this world, resources are what we mistakenly think for zeros and ones in bank accounts,
Mm,
versus the real resources which we are often without.
yeah. Yeah. Disconnected from or
Yeah,
disassociated with. Yeah.
yeah. I think our lands are so overlooked as a real resource in us quite often.
Yeah. Yep. There's a
Mm,
process I do around that as well. With your land, your mountain and your rivers and also the land and you know, the land and the sky
mm.
and all the different things that we
And you
take
and
for
you choose
granted.
representatives for each of those aspects of the land as resources.
There's different ways you could do it. You could do it with objects and place them as those things, or the way I like to do it is your ancestral mountain and an ancestral river. We call it a maunga and an awa, and then
Okay.
the ones that are there to support you now in your day. And sometimes people think, well, that's my ancestral one as well. But remembering, I remind them that there are millions of ancestors, so there's going to be more than one mountain and more than one river. So
Mhm.
we won't actually name it as a particular one, but just calling it that. And
Yeah,
then
as
and
more of
then
the collective flow rather than Uncle Harry.
yes, exactly. Yeah. And then the ones that are there in our daily life um and s- sometimes people take this very, very literally, and it's for them that's a mountain and this is a river. And others are like, well, that mountain's just become my grandfather. And then
Mhm.
that river is my great grandmother has just arrived, like that feeling. So,
Yes,
and I
yes,
don't there's no boundary on it. It's like what is there for you in this moment. Yeah.
yeah.
And then we process through the whole group. So you've got 5 people in a group doing that exercise, and so everybody gets the opportunity to do that. And it's really,
Mm,
really, really powerful.
I like that.
Yeah, yeah. The mountains. And you think about, the plants that grew on those mountains and the waters that fed those plants and our ancestral medicines versus to the medicines that we have today, the ones that grow with us. And if our ancestors were, say your ancestors were in Scandinavia, as in, and then you've got where you live now in Australia or in Aotearoa, the different plants, but um, or maybe they're the same. Maybe you're using dandelion and it grew, and that was what your ancestors were used a lot of too. So that connection there as well for people recognizing that they're taking some ancestral wisdom with them through that, through the plant medicine
Yes, yes. We never
wisdom.
really know where it's going to go.
I know, it's fascinating.
Mm,
Yeah.
what a
Oh,
rich history we have to draw on in templating in these constellation ways.
I know. I know. I think it's just boundless, is that the right word? Endless?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it really is, isn't it? I had a novel thought that I haven't worked on, I haven't done anything around it. It was just a thought I had recently, like, oh, or if we constellate some of the constellations, speaking of boundless,
Yeah.
and to see what that opens up. I haven't done it, but anyway,
Well,
something
that's
to
right,
explore.
because you've got so many constellations, right? We've just had Matariki, which you would see it as the Pleiades, the seven sisters, but
Uh-huh.
we call it Matariki here because when it rises at a certain time and it's the Maori New Year and that. And so you've got that constellation, and then you've got Orion's belt, and which we call the pot. All
Uh-huh.
of those different things. So what does that mean? And yeah, mate, that would be fascinating.
Yes. Yes. It's a lovely curiosity to play with.
Well, I look forward to hearing about it when you've done
Maybe,
it.
maybe that'll happen in New Zealand later in the year. Who knows?
Who knows? Well, it's a good place for it to start, right?
Yes.
Now, workshops. If someone wanted to do some work with you, how would they get in touch with you?
Um, the best way would be through my website, which
So,
is
yep,
um, which is robimore, .com.au.
fantastic. And we will put that link
Or
in the thread.
if they're looking more for the psychedelic training, then that would be through grounduppsychotherapy.com.au, which is my training business. And I keep the two separate.
So, to do that training, what do they need to have? What credentials does someone need to have to come and do that training with you?
They need to be a mental health professional or in training on that path, and they need to have direct experience with and a commitment to building relationships with the medicines that they're
Mm,
on their path that they're looking to support people through.
fantastic. I love that because, yeah.
Yes, I've had lots of people come and, often they're more medical kind of oriented, saying, I really want to learn how to do that. Oh no, I could never do any of those medicines, but I want to just do that work. Okay, well, there's clinical trainings out there to go and do that under the more medical model, but that's not for
Mm,
me.
yeah.
I'm interested in supporting those that build relationships with the medicines to integrate that into their work.
Oh, it's so important.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, to understand. And and the shamans, for example, that this is my understanding, the shamans will take the medicine themselves or
Mm.
take a smaller dose of the medicine when they are guiding someone through, like, for example, an ayahuasca ceremony, so
Yeah.
that there is a resonance in it for them. Not saying that you're doing that, but this is what a shaman would do.
Yes. Well, in the
Um,
circles I sit in, the shamans often take bigger doses.
right, okay. Well, they're
Yes.
probably quite used to work that muscle a few times, right?
That's right. If they're real, well trained, apprenticed shamans.
Yeah.
But I think that's the key difference because the medical model learns about these medicines through research and through neuroscience. So they learn about something outside of themselves. And so it's
Mm,
cognitive and it's out there. They know an incredible amount about these medicines, but it's all academic or largely, or at least driven and led by their academic understanding.
yeah.
Whereas a more medicine-led way is, the shamans ingest directly and build a relationship with the wisdom of that medicine and through their own direct experience. And so it's that side of working that I support therapy around, not to teach therapists how to be shamans, but if you understand the principle of how a shaman learns, it's through experience. Well, then if we start to analyze and be rational and think about something outside of ourselves, then we're not in coherence with what these medicines actually are. So the
Mm,
training is about being in how do we support clients to stay with their direct experience rather than to analyze, categorize, and solve their experience. Then we're working in coherence and support of the medicine rather than trying to understand it and have power over it.
and for me, that brings up the awareness of, well, therapists, constellators, and those people that are doing this sort of work, but they aren't doing their own work. They learn the
Mm.
theory of it, but they never
Yes,
do their own work.
yes.
I think there's such a
It
difference in
happens, hey?
it happens. Yeah.
Happens. Like incredibly clever people
Yeah.
that are not reconciled within themselves.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I have observed a lot in the clinical spaces of that. Yeah. That's
Yes. Yeah, I think that the medical system doesn't require, it's probably the same over there. The medical system doesn't require any psychologists to have done their own work. Um, and GPs, if someone goes to the GP saying I'm mentally unwell, they'll send them straight to a psychologist, which is not terrible, by itself, but only if the psychologist has done their own work. Thankfully, psychologists do their own work, but so many of them don't realize that's important.
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
I think I mean, I believe that more and more people are becoming aware of that and that need to do that because it can only sustain you for so long, right?
That's right. Yeah. And I think, psychologists are incredibly clever people. You have to be incredibly clever to qualify to be in those degrees. And so to kind of attend to the emotional side makes them a powerhouse should they want to do it. But the
Mm,
same is true in the constellations world. Like, we all become better constellators when we have reconciled our own ancestral line because now we know now we know what we're doing and we can we
yeah,
can support others in doing that too.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then when the blind spots come up, we can hopefully we recognize them and we're able to um, do something about that.
Yes. Well, it puts us in like right relationship with others, hey? Like it puts us in the reality of we're all equal here.
Mm,
We're all equal in this circle.
yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. Yeah, it's fascinating. There's so much.
Mm.
Doing good work, Robbie. Doing great work.
As are you. As are
Yeah,
you, Tracy.
yeah.
Mm. I'm looking
And
forward to coming and spending some time with you guys in November.
we look forward to having you as well. Yeah. And hearing more, maybe you will have, yeah, you'll have some more information around this. Oh no, you're going to try and maybe do the constellation with us on constellations. Constellating constellation.
I'm just seeding it. We'll see where and when that lands, but it'll
That
happen
might be a
somewhere.
that might be after supper. Let's go and play.
That's right.
Fantastic. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the listeners and the viewers before we sign off?
Keep constellating.
Yeah. It's a funny word, isn't it? Constellating. I have a friend asking me, what does that even mean? Like
Yes.
constellating. It's kind of like your own secret language.
It is really, isn't it? But it's so
Mm.
accurate. I mean, people talk about the constellations being one of the original origins of the word, and we put ourselves in our own constellations. But there's a lot of people out there that would say that we all, at least embody that the dust of the stars is what pumps through our veins, and so we are the stars, and so we are. It's true to say we are constellating the stars
Exactly.
on
Exactly.
that.
Love that. Love
Yes.
that imagery to end that on. Well,
And as I
thank you
say that
so
now, I
much.
really want to do that constellation around constellations.
Nice. Nice. And I'm looking at that beautiful light that you've got behind you, and it's almost like it's creating its own constellation there for you as well.
Is
Just
on
in
the
the
wall.
corner of your
Yes.
screen. It's beautiful. Thank you
Mm,
so much, Robbie, for sharing your time with us, and yeah,
my
and
pleasure.
opening up awareness for people. You know, there are many people that have no idea about this pathway with constellations as well. So yeah,
My
really,
pleasure. Thank you for the
really,
invitation.
yeah, really
Lovely to
enjoyed
see
it.
you again.
And you too.
That mushroom behind you really is very, very lovely. So I invite you to play around with it on more Zoom sessions. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Might
Mm.
have to find a few more. I've recently been introduced to Amarita, the mushroom Amarita. Do you know
Ah,
that one?
yes. Mhm.
The red mushroom with the white spots.
Yes.
And that our mothers and grandmothers told us was poisonous. You shouldn't touch that. Don't touch that. It's
Mhm.
poisonous. But it's not. It's not poisonous.
Well, I
Um,
believe it can be, but it doesn't have to be.
okay. Or I'll reframe that. Maybe it's not poisonous when it's prepared in the correct way.
Yes. Yes.
Just for the listeners and the viewers, just to get that
That's
correct.
right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Don't
Only
take any mushroom advice from us here. That's the best way to put it.
blessings. Thank you so much, Robbie.
Blessings to you, Tracy. Lovely to see you, and look forward to seeing you in a couple of months. We'll be speaking before then.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you for listening. Head over to Instagram and tell me what's resonated for you with this episode. You'll find me at tracy.cartwright. That's Tracy with no E, .cartwright. Or head over to my website, tracycartwright.co.nz, and receive a free audio with the gift from your ancestors. So until next time, be kind to yourself and have fun doing it.